portion, the weekly Torah portion, Chumash and Rashi. We are in the Torah portion, Kisavai, coming into the land. Moshe Rabbeinu is empowering the Jewish people before they enter into the Holy Land. Excuse me. Let's get right into it. We're in Dvarim chapter 27, verse 1, the book Deuteronomy. You have your place? Okay, fourth Aliyah, exactly. Vayitzav Moshe, and he commanded Moshe, V'ziknei Israel, and the elders of Israel, as Am, the nation. Right? They commanded, Lamor, saying, Shamor, heed, guard, keep, as kol ha-mitzvah, all of the commandment, Asher anechi, that I, mitzaveh, command, eschem, you, keep it all. Rashi, Shamor is kol ha-mitzvah, Lashon Haibed, this is an expression of an ongoing present tense, and in Old French, gardon. Right. In other words, continuously keep the entire commandment. So it's actually it's in singular, commandment, not commandments, right? Rashi doesn't address that. Why it's in singular?
Because when you're busy doing the mitzvah,
No, actually he does that. Sorry. Actually, he does address it. That's why he gives his explanation. Do it, the mitzvah, continuously. In other words, be engaged in it totally. Right? Total engagement. So he is kind of answering it. In the mitzvah that you're doing, total engagement. Right now you're learning, there's nothing else that exists. Right? Nothing else that exists. That's essentially what he's saying, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Verse number 2. V'hodya, and it will be by Yom in the day, Asher, that ta'avru, that you pass, plural, is a yard in the Jordan. Right? Remember, they're on the eastern shore of the Jordan. El Ha'aretz, until the land, Asher Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God, Noisen Loch, is giving to you. As if we didn't know that God's giving it to us, he's reminding us again. Guess why? Because it seems like we forget this. So it'll be on that day that you're going to pass. Now you need to fulfill. Or set up, rather, not fulfill. You have to set up lechov for yourselves avanim gedalis, big stones. Avanim is stones, gedalis is big. Some sid, and you need to cover them with plaster. Let's see, Rashi, what's going on over here? Something new, a new idea over here. You got it? We're good? Let's see, Rashi, Valakim, and you should set up these great stones for yourselves. The Yarden, in the Jordan. The Achakach, and afterwards, Teitzia Misham Acheres, take others from there. The Tivna Mehem Mizbeach, and build an altar out of them. Bahar Eval, on Mount Eval. So this passage is saying that the stones which are mentioned here are the very ones that the Israelites are commanded to erect on Mount Eval, which will be in verse number 4. We'll see in a moment, right? But the fact that it says for yourselves means that the stones spoken about over here are meant to have a function that's everlasting. Therefore, in verse 4, we're speaking about other stones. So there's stones here, and then there'll be stones later. Okay? That's what it means to set up for yourself. So I don't understand what it means in the Jordan, because the Jordan means the Jordan River. Doesn't mean the country called Jordan, because there's no country called Jordan. Right?
when they crossed the Red Sea, did they?
They crossed. No, this is the Jordan. The Red Sea is way down below.
Yeah.
Right, it's right.
When they crossed, did they do the same thing, or this is the first
No,
time they do?
no, it's the first time.
They never
No,
crossed,
when they crossed the sea split, they went through,
but they
right?
didn't take stones as a.
They never crossed the Red Sea. They made a U-turn, didn't they?
But they crossed it. They made they came back on the same side. They went in a U. That's right. They didn't cross on the other side. That's true. But in any case, over here, what we're talking about, right, is here is one thing. Verse 4 is going to be another thing. So here it's for yourselves. I don't understand what it means in the Jordan. I don't know if that. Anyways, afterwards you're going to take others. You're going to build the altar on Har Eval. So it comes out to what we're saying over here, that Shloishem Mini Avanim Hanyu. There were 3 types of stones which the Israelites set up crossing the Jordan. 12 in the Jordan, Ukenegdam beGilgal, and corresponding to that 12 was also in Gilgal. Ukenegdam Bahar Eval, and corresponding to that was on Mount Eval. 3 times stones were set up. Here we're speaking about 2 stones, the stones of the altar of Eval, and that they were ultimately moved to Gilgal. Okay. As it says in the tractate of Saita. Now let's see further. So we can get more clarity over here. Verse number 3. The chasavta means you should write aleihim upon them, meaning these stones. It's called divya Torah. All the words of the Torah, hazais, this Torah, ba'avracha, in your crossing, right? In other words, in your crossing the Jordan, write everything down on these stones. Lama'an, in order, asher tavo, that you should come, Elaharis, to the land. Asher, that Hashem Elokecha, Hashem your God, Noisim Lecha, is giving to you. Eretz, a land, Zavas, it flows. Chalav, milk. That's a different kind of milk. Udvash and honey. No. The flowing of from the dates. From the dates.
Where for the Mizbeach, now he's saying you have to write on top of them.
No, these were for right at top of them. Hareval, I think the next verse. So let's see the next verse and see how that fits in. Kasher, Diber, as he spoke, Hashem Elokei Avisechalach, the Hashem, the God of your fathers, to you. About you. To you, about you. Okay. Let's see now verse number 4. Now, Vahaya, now you see the very fact that it says the word Vahaya is important because that word means and it will be, right? In other words, another thing is happening now. That's also how Rashi knows that the first set of stones was one thing that we just spoke about. Was in the Jordan, right? That you have these stones and you write the Torah upon it. Now Vahaya, and what it will be, meaning another thing will happen. Ba'avrachem, when you pass, it's a Yarden. Otherwise, this is on the other side of the Jordan, right? In Canaan, in Israel, Takimu, you should set up over there, is Avani Ma'ela. So now he says, these stones, you should set them up. But Rashi said in the previous, how does he get that? These stones, take from these stones, but it's different stones. Rashi said it was different stones in the previous Rashi, right? He said it's not the same stones. But they took stones from there, crossed with them, and it's different stones that they use for this verse. That's what Rashi said. Even though he's saying Takimu Zavani Me'ela, these stones, so it sounds like it's the stones that you wrote on. But the way Rashi said previously, it's not. He said, take other stones. How he gets that when he says over in Asher anechi mitzaveh, as I am commanding you, eschem to you, hayom today, bahar Eval, on Mount Eval, the sadata isam besid. See, it also says plaster them, so that it's clear that means other stones, right? Because the first ones were already plastered. Not only were plastered, what happened to them? They wrote on the plaster, right? You can't write on a stone really, but on plaster you could. Plaster you could write, right?
Makes sense.
Okay, so it's different stones.
I mean,
So it's
there were-
clearly different stones from the context of the verse, what the verse is saying.
There were stones on each one. They found, and
No, it just says Ava.
until later.
Yeah, I mean, that itself,
The blessings,
yeah,
the curses are glazing.
yeah. Okay, verse number 5. Uvanisa Sham, and you'll build over there. Mizbeach LaHashem. This is separate now. There's one thing about the stones, and now you're going to build, right, a altar. Mizbeach is altar LaHashem, Alekech Hashem, your God. Mizbach, it's a altar havanim of stones. Loisani faleim bar. So do not cut upon them. Do not raise upon them an iron. In other words, don't use iron to cut the stones.
So they don't cut stones at all.
Metal.
Any kind of metal is not allowed to be used. That's also in the Holy Temple. They were not allowed to use it on the grounds of the Holy Temple. Outside of the Holy Temple, they would be able to.
I believe here, they were using the whole stone. The temple was carved perfectly without an iron tool. So that's pretty amazing in itself.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the source, by the way, why you cannot shape.
Well, let's look at the next verse so we can get next verse, number 6. Avanim, stones, shlemus that are whole, complete. Tivne, you shall build as hamizbeah, the altar, Hashem Elokecha, of Hashem your God. Valisa olav, and you shall raise upon it, bring upon it. Oilos, that means oilos comes from the word aliyah, which means ascent, right? Aliyah means to go up, means that it's an ascent offering. Anybody know what an ascent offering is? No,
Burnt.
that's a shlomim.
That's burnt offering. Sin.
Completely burnt.
Sin.
No,
No.
sin offerings are completely burnt. Some of it is eaten by the kohen. An oila is completely burnt on the altar. That's what it means ascends. The whole thing ascends in smoke, right?
And what's the purpose of that?
To give God pleasure.
It's called just an ascent offering, not a peace offering, not a.
That's a different offering. That's a different offering,
Okay, thank you.
right? Right. Is that called a hat that you're wearing? And then you got glasses on? Why not called the same thing? It's a different thing.
Different letters.
They have different functions. Yeah, right? A
Thank you.
peace offering has one function, an oil offering has a different function.
My brain's not working very well.
I'll go have some coffee. No more milk. Except in the land of milk and honey.
But it's very high in calories.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, one you can have one date a day. Not 10.
Or nothing.
All right. So, yeah, I think you were not. Yeah, I think you were not being present because look at the next verse.
I'm not present, it's fact.
Yeah. So bring upon it an oila l'Hashem l'kech Hashem your God, and then it says v'zavachta, and you shall slaughter shlomim, a peace offering. Right. First was an oila, a scent offering. Now it's a peace offering. Right. As a peace offering in the times of the Holy Temple, whoever brought it, the person that brought it got to eat from it. The kohen got to eat from it, and part of it was put on the altar that was ascended on high. Right. A sin offering, the person who brought it, who had the sin, did not eat from it, but the kohen did, and some of it went up. The ascent offering all goes up. That's why it's an ascent. Okay.
And all that's left is ashes.
V'achalta sham, and you shall eat there. V'samachta, and you shall be rejoicing lifnei Hashem Elokecha, before Hashem your God. Aha. So Rashi said, let me just, folks, Rashi said three things, right? There was the stones that was in the present tense, then, right? That they covered with plaster, wrote the Torah on it. There were stones that came across the Jordan, right? And now it's a separate thing, an altar. That altar was in Gilgal, where they had 369 years, they had the Mishkan there, right? Not the same Mishkan that we have here for 40 years that was in the desert. That was a movable one. They had a permanent one, but no permanent roof. The roofing was from the Mishkan, the skins that they used on the Mishkan, they used that in Gilgal for 369 years. That's before Jerusalem, right? Before, even 54 years was given a Noiv, that they had a form of a temple, right?
How many years?
369 in Gilgal, and that's what this references to. Okay?
So there was still the temple of the tabernacle. It was still
No, it was a it was a permanent building.
No, I mean here.
No, one second. I'm talking about what the verse is saying. I know what your here means. And what does here mean? The verse is what's here. The verse it's talking about now is about an altar. That's a third thing, right? We had stones, write on, stones that said it didn't say to write on, but it said to put plaster on it, right? That's over the Jordan, right? That's by Aval, right? By Mount Aval, right? It didn't say about writing anything. And now we have an altar, also from stone. Something different. Complete stones, right? That was in Gilgal. That's a different thing. Got it?
Yeah, tabernacles in Jerusalem.
No, Beis Hamikdash.
Okay,
Beis Hamikdash. Okay?
I'm just gonna be quiet.
Oh, now he says about the writing, right? Till now he didn't. Now he says in verse number 8, and you write on the stones as divrei Torah, the words of the Torah. This Torah be'er Haiti, well clarified. So Rashi is bothered by that because there's something new over here. Be'er Haiti was well clarified. B'shivim lashon, 70 languages. Rashi says.
Okay. Initially, Moses did that in 7 languages.
You know, we if you recall, if you want to go back for a second, just because we have the time, so I'm doing this because we're almost finished. If you go back to chapter 1 in the book of Dvarim, you're going to see on chapter 1, verse. Hold on.
Did I understand something here?
Sure.
We're talking about the whole Chumash 70 times on stones,
Yeah. How's that possible?
and what languages? I mean,
Yes.
they already had languages.
That's a good question.
Bavel,
Oh, that already we have. Let me just show you over here. If you go, hold on, just try and find the verse. Hold on.
Moses wrote the 7 languages on skin.
No.
on stone.
But initially, I'm talking. Sinai.
Hmm?
Didn't he do it on Sinai, 70 languages?
No. In Babylon and
Here, if you go to verse chapter 1, verse 5, just hold your place where it is, put the string there, and just go to the beginning. I don't know what page it is, but chapter of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 5. So it says Be'evar Yarden, on the other side of the Jordan, right? I mean, the eastern side of the Jordan, Be'eretz Moav, in the land of Moav, Hayil Moshe began Be'er, to explain. It's a Torah Azay, to explain this Torah. Rashi, be'eres haTorah, to clarify the Torah, shivim lashon pir shalahem. He explained it to them in 70 languages. So we have that concept already that he did this in 70 languages, right at the beginning of Dvarim, right, in Deuteronomy. And now they're writing it down on stone. So the fact that they had so many languages was already, right? The question is, how is that possible? How could you possibly do it, right? That's,
Big stones,
huh?
big stones.
Big stones. Oh my gosh. This puts Stonehenge on its edge, on its head. I mean, this is like,
So Moses didn't write it, he
So
just
what's
taught
the
it
point?
orally.
huh?
What's the point?
What's the point? I don't think that's, first of all, it's not a question of Pshuta Shemikra. I don't think it's a question because Rashi doesn't address it. Like, what's the point? I mean, it brings a permanent, it brings,
Hebrew.
what's it? No, the
Or
point of 70
Egyptian.
languages. So the Rebbe explains in a Sikha that the 70 languages is because they're coming into Canaan. They're in a desert for 40 years. Who did they have contact with? Me, myself, and I, right? Basically. So they didn't need it. But now that they're coming into Canaan, they're speaking several languages, different languages there, right? There's different languages. It was one unified language. And in any case, the whole point of the Torah is that we should bring it as a light unto the nations, not so much the teachings of the Torah, but whatever it is. So they had to prepare them to come into the world to deal with the world around them. So therefore you have the 70 languages. That's the general idea. Why on stone? Maybe permanence to it is maybe perhaps an idea over here. Well, let's take a look and see if we have something for the Rebbe Sikha on it.
That the stone, the languages are a form of punishment in Babylon, right? In Babel. Because before that they all spoke one language, Safachat, right? Says Lashon HaKodesh, Rashi says.
Right.
And then in order to confuse them so they cannot keep building, he gave
Right.
them 70 languages.
Right.
And then the Rebbe said that by learning in those languages, we are elevating those languages
Right.
that it should be repaired because of Babylon.
Okay, so there you got it.
Babel comes-
Perfect.
When you
Perfect.
When you babble, when you
Perfect.
talk, when you babble, that means you're talking.
Bilbul,
Right.
confusion.
Okay, excellent. Okay, verse number 9. Let's finish off and we'll see if get some more insight. Hidaber Moshe, and he spoke Moshe about Kohanim Alevim and the Kohanim that are Levites, El Kol Israel, to all of Israel. Interesting. Before it said the elders, now it's saying the Kohanim. Okay. Lamor saying, Haskes, be attentive, Ushma, and listen. Hear Israel, hear Israel. Hayom Hazeh, this day, yes, you became a nation, Hashem Elokecha, to Hashem your God. That's interesting. This day. I thought we were already. Well, actually, okay. We'll see where this is going. Okay, Haskes, this should be understood. Targumai, according to the way Onkelos explains it, which means it's similar to listen.
It's
Okay.
interesting that when it comes to commands, you need to be more harsh. So he took the elders. But when you speak softly, as the Kohanim were more loving, it says Vayidaber, that they spoke. There's a different language that he's using.
Well, Daber is more harsh. Lamor is softer. Yeah. Daber ben Israel, the Emor el Beis Yaakov.
Levites.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite.
The Levites were also, not just the Cohen, the Levites.
It's the opposite that the Rashi says by Har Sinai. Lamor is a softer language.
Right.
Then Dibur is a harsher language. That's why to the men they speak harshly. To the women speak gently.
Right.
Right. Okay. Next Rashi in number 9. Hayom hazeh Yisraelam. Today you become a people. B'chol yom. Every day, Yeh be'enecha should be in your eyes. Ki ilu hayom basamim imay bibris says today you entered into the covenant with God. Wow.
Same as yesterday.
Uh,
Same as yesterday almost.
no, that was about the mitzvah.
This is-
A bikurim. No, that was different. That was a different nuance. You're right. It's about hayom today. In other words, present tense. That was the same, but it was in a different context. Yes. Vishamaita. This one makes more sense, right?
So what day is it referring to?
Today,
Hmm?
today you've come into the covenant with Hashem.
Any
It's
day.
every day. Yeah, exactly. Shemaita b'kol Hashem Elokecha, and you shall listen to, as a result of this, and now you're in the covenant, listen to the voice of Hashem your God, Basisa, and you shall do, it's mitzvah isa,
Zkuta.
Yeah, mitzvah sov, yeah. It's written funny. Okay, and you shall do his mitzvahs, and his statutory laws that I'm commanding you today.
Listen? Where did you say listen?
Huh?
You said listen.
Shemaita means shema. You shall listen.
Oh, so it doesn't do the same thing. It doesn't translate in the way here. Okay, thank you.
Listen, obey. Excuse me, can you listen and do what I told you?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Obey. Right? So listen can mean obey, right? Listen can mean hear, but it can mean also obey, right? Got it?
That's good.
Boy, are you listening?
You not in mind.
A lot of emphasis on hayom. That day, every day we enter this day.
This day.
No, not that day. This day.
Oh man, there's nothing here from.
Passover, I think, we should, when we do the Haggadah, we talk about this day, we should think that we were slaves today. And we were free today. This is I believe so. I believe so, I could be wrong, I usually am. Well,
Yeah, but when you learn, you change. Like I'm sure you're not gonna drink 10 cups.
Didn't, was it like one of the merits of the Jews when they were in Egypt that they kept the language?
Yeah,
So it's one language.
their
Where
language.
comes all the 70? What?
Their language is one language, but the nations of the world is 70 languages.
I know, so it's all was the Jews talking to the Jews.
Yeah, because again, you said it yourself, right? Yeah,
So who spoke those languages?
No, but they're
If the Jews kept the language and
that first of all, you know more than one language. I'm sure they knew Egyptian. They lived, right? I'm sure they knew
the Ten
Afriki.
Commandment is in Egyptian.
They
so-
also knew Afriki, which is an African language because Egypt happens to be in Africa, right? So there's another language there called Afriki. They knew I don't know what other the languages that they knew at the time, but they could have known several languages, and that's irrelevant, even if they didn't. The whole point over here, Moshe Rabbeinu knew the 70 languages. He was taught by Hashem, or however he got it, he knew the 70 languages. And the point over here was in preparation to go into land. The way I'm getting it now, there's a prep before on the eastern Jordan, and then crossing the Jordan. Each one is its own idea of preparation that you're going to deal with the nations of the world, and therefore in dealing with the nations you need to be able to speak their language, or at least to be able to teach Torah in their language, or that they should have the teachings, which the truth is I don't understand that, because non-Jews not allowed to learn Torah unless it's only things that are relevant to them, like the 7 Noachide laws. But that's the oral Torah, maybe. That's all. That's the oral Torah. That's the oral Torah. Chumash,
Okay.
Chumash without Rashi. Rashi was not on those stones.
It's probably only 4 books,
What?
right? Because the 5th one is Moshe Rabbeinu.
Is it only being written then? That's a good question. Good question. I don't know. Anyway,
That's not.
we didn't find the stones yet. We gotta find those stones.
And when they crossed the Jordan, they didn't set up the Beit HaMikdash anymore.
No, I said in Gilgal, they for 369, it was not a traveling tabernacle, it was a permanent play. Not permanent, but permanent 369 years is pretty,
Yeah.
pretty long run, right? I don't think there's been a Broadway show so long.
I wonder what they did with all that material.
Huh?
I wonder what they did with all that material with the Beit HaMikdash.
Beit HaMikdash is later.
The Mishkan.
The Mishkan, it was buried or something. I think it was buried.
Mishkan Shiloh.
That's what we're talking about. It wasn't, we called it a Mishkan, but it was not the Mishkan from the desert. It was a new building. It had permanence to it. It wasn't from, I don't think it was made from acacia wood.
Temporarily made from special material that was made from goat skin.
That's only for the roof.
Yeah.
That was from the Mishkan. That was from the Mishkan in the desert. Everything else was new.
Pillar for, yeah, you think?
When it was dry, it was open, so air can come in.
Oh,
When it's wet, it would puff and close, so water couldn't go in.
wow, they should have used something Mediterranean.
Oh,
They should have used something Mediterranean. Instead of costing us billions of dollars.
okay,
Why not? I don't know.
then I have to go.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give over something that's not from today, Chumash, because I don't see anything here from the Rebbe. Yeah, I have to find out a different. I need a new source because there are things from the Rebbe, but this book that I have doesn't have everything. So at the very first verse of the Torah, of the portion, this Torah portion, when you come into the land of Hashem Elokecha gives to you as an inheritance, you will drive out and you will settle the land. So Rashi says that you're only obliged for the mitzvah of bikurim, of the first fruits, after conquering the land and settling the land, right? Remember that first Rashi? So, right, it took 14 years. So we need to understand that Rebbe says that the verse says, "V'yashafta ba," and you will dwell in the land, right? So, that's the final thing. Why is it necessary to say anything before that? Others, if the point of the verse is to tell me when I am obliged to bring the first fruits, well, when am I obliged? After the last thing is fulfilled. And what's that? Settling the land. That the land was apportioned to the tribes and everybody got their place to settle, right? Anything before that you're at the inheritance, and then you have to drive out the Canaanites, is not really necessary in order to tell me this of when the obligation takes place. Okay, we'll take it. Thank you. Right, it's self-understood that you first have to conquer and then dwell in the land, right? So the Rebbe explains, according to simple meaning, Uh-huh. So the verse isn't really coming as a preface to the mitzvah bikurim of the first fruits, right, which is coming thereafter, but it's actually coming to tell us a commandment that it's itself. The commandment is, when you come into the land, conquer it. Come into the land, you have to conquer it and dwell in the land. It's its own command. It's not a preface, do that in order that's when you become obliged with bikurim. So Rashi's intent over here in the words that this tells us that we're only obliged in bikurim, in the first fruits, only after you have conquered and settled the land, isn't coming to is not to tell us is that the verse is only coming to tell us this particular halacha, but this verse is coming to tell us a commandment in and of its own. In its own, but rather the connection to what comes thereafter, right? Why these two things coming together is that after so, then you could fulfill the mitzvah of bikurim. In other words, wow, okay. Let me try to give it out. The verse is coming to tell us a new commandment. When you come to the land, conquer it and settle it. Mitzvah, right? What does that tell us? A second thing, Magid, right? The words of Rashi, Magid, meaning this is telling us, meaning it's telling us something else. Right? What else is it telling us? Oh, bikurim, because that's what's coming next. You'll only be obliged it after you've done this. Fulfill this command, then you'll have this command. Psh. Very nuanced.
One mitzvah leads to another. These two.
One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. Yeah.
It opens the door to the mitzvah.
Yeah. Come to the land, wipe Hamas.
Amen.
Yes. I'm into that.
Absolutely. Also the cats, as well as the children and the cattle.
So, according to Chassidus, when you come into the land, that means when the neshama is coming, where? Where's the neshama coming?
Goof.
Into the world, into the goof, into the body. It's coming into the world, right? Because when you're coming to the land is earthiness, right? When the soul is coming into, right? So you could ask a question. The neshama is coming from Gan Eden to this world. And it's coming to a place where there's going to be challenges, difficulties, and even danger over here, right?
Conquer your body.
So as the term is, Mi'igura Rama, from a very, very high place, Labira Mikta, to a very low valley. So why is the verse then saying Vahaya? As our sages say, the word Vahaya means a concept of Simcha. Ahaya, and it will be, meaning it's implying joy. Right?
Yeah, but when soul comes into the body,
If it's
joyful.
Huh?
So in other words, the whole process.
But the Rebbe asked a question, and first you didn't repeat the question. First, you got the question?
Yes,
What's the question?
you're talking about joy.
What's the question?
Go ahead.
So that's why it's very important. Follow, please.
Here.
Huh? Did you have a coffee? Here, can I offer you? Baruch atah. Chayei Shach. Bari.
Amen.
Hi. Okay, so
Today's a big day.
the soul, what's in Hasidus, right? A deeper mystical meaning. What is this verse coming to say when you come into the land? Your soul is coming down into a body here on earth.
Mhm.
That migration from Gan Eden to here and coming into this world, this place is a place full of challenges and danger. It's a danger zone. This world,
It's a
you could become a coffee addict.
Yeah.
Become David's coffee. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You're trying to make me an addict.
Soon it's gonna be his
So, one second, I'm in the middle, let me make sure, I want to make sure he gets the question, right?
Yeah.
So then, but the verse says v'haya, and when you come, when it'll be rather, v'haya means when it'll be. That term, our sages say v'haya, I think haya is different. V'haya, and when it will be, is a connotation implying what?
Joy.
Right, simcha.
So,
So, but that's the opposite of what we just what we're just saying. Your soul's coming into a place of danger over here. So what's the joy?
It looks like a downgrade.
Exactly right. So now, so the verse continues. The verse continues, right? Not our ideas continue. The verse continues. What does it say? Asher Hashem Elokecha Neis in law. The land. It's the land that Hashem, your God, gave to you. That's
I
different.
never
now.
heard of,
Well, that's what the verse says.
I mean, I never heard that God gave us the land before. I'm kidding. It said it like 3,000 times that we should.
3,000. That's in one parsha. Right? In other words, after coming down into this, you get a gift from Hashem. You're getting a good place. This is for sure that this is a good to come down is a positive and a truthful good thing. That will come out of it only joy.
The fact you did Mashiach?
Huh?
Anything to do with Mashiach?
Well, ultimately, but the very coming down. That's the very coming down, right? Is right, but you still could ask it. Rebbe says, what is the value of Hashem giving us this gift? Right, because the verse says, "Asher Hashem Elokecha Noisen Lecha," that Hashem is giving to you, right? There's kind of the bread of shame over here. God's giving to us. That's not a true joy. True joy is when you do something. True joy, complete joy, is when you accomplish something. That's God's accomplishment. That He's bringing me down over here, right, to His land, to His place, right? That's good for that. Then the verse continues, "V'yarashta," right? In other words, it's not going to be bread of shame because it's going to be something that you never need to do. You have to. You have to inherit the land. You have to do that, right?
Yeah. So it's both.
And what does it mean? What is it? The concept of inheritance? Inheritance is a concept that the inheritee stands in the stead of the inheritor. In other words, who's giving us the land that we're inheriting it from? God. We stand in His stead. That's what the concept of inheritance is. You take the shoes of that person, in a sense, right? You're in their shoes, the one who passed away. That's what an inheritance means on a deeper level. So we are standing in the place of the inheritor, God, right? And therefore not separated from Him.
So why do we need a war?
And therefore you have to dwell and therefore you have to dwell. Well, you have to battle. You have to battle that in order that you should all the things that prevent you from that connection. That connection that you are in the inheritor of God, there'll be those things inside of you and outside of you. They're going to be in opposition to it. So you need to battle that off. And ultimately you have to dwell in the land. That will be an aliyah that comes from coming down into this world, right? That
It's interesting if you
so when just finish the thought over here. Give me just 1 second. The idea of dwelling in the land, sitting, we're in the middle of a thought, so I just want to finish the thought.
You weren't talking. I thought you were
Yeah.
done.
No,
Okay.
because I'm just learning it now as I'm reading it, right? So dwelling means settling. Settling means like to sit, right? Which means it's a permanence established, right? In a sense of permanence, right? That we are doing it. In other words, that's what God will give us because of the work that we do, that therefore we come to a greater place of settling in a sense of permanence because of the avodah that we engage in. Chaim, go ahead.
No,
Okay.
I found it beautiful
Okay.
the parallel as the body is the country